What up, cappers, gamblers, punters, hustlers, low baggers? Happy Wednesday, October 7th to all of you. Thank you for watching Betting with the Bag right here on odds.com, the odds headquarters for divisional MLB playoff games to break down today. We're going to go over some of Nolly Knows' NCAA football action, and we'll be talking about my NFL action that we locked in last night at 8 p.m. Eastern with Rob Bebenek. We dropped our opening lines NFL show, and Bebsy 17-6 on the year. Very, very strong opening for Bebsy. I like my looks. The only thing that made me a little uncomfortable is the Monday night action, the Monday nighter that I put in. We'll see how that ends up. If I'm still as uncomfortable as I kind of am when I woke up this morning. But other than that, I like my looks. Welcome to all the cappers in the chat. A big Wednesday ahead of us. Michael Hunter ready to get to work. There's Viral Video ready to go. Dav Fenn says, had a good day with over the Yankees. Now I'm looking at under 9 with Lopez, Ian Anderson. I've locked in one bet, and I did take the team total over for the Braves at 4.5. They're just a juggernaut offensively, but I never know what Lopez is going to do against the Braves. He's just a Jekyll and Hyde pitcher against them. We'll go over it with Nolly Knows. Viper and B ready to go. We got Mr. Wisdom, Justin Betts, the Czar. The Czar said he covered. Thanks, hero. I fell asleep. Yeah, I get it. Rude Jude in the house. Slats 45 since after last Friday's Cardinals debacle. Yeah, it was awful. Went 4-0 last night. Rays, Yanks over. Glasnow plus 7.5 Ks in LA first quarter. I like it. Back on Yanks, Rays plus 9. I like it, Slats. I like it a lot. Tyrone Coleman, Michael Hunter, Dan Kelly, ready to go. Said, try prune juice if you are uncomfortable when you wake up. It does remind me of the great Lordles Loshak, who was a big proponent of the prune juice. Dean Eden, ready to go. Alex Ramirez, star of the Spidey plays of the day, ready to go. Sonny G in the house. What a great group. It's time to attack. It is time to attack. Let's bring in our MLB expert, the man we love. Nolly Knows in the house. What up, Nolly? How are you?
Hey, what's going on, Jimmy? Doing all right. Dodgers got a nice little W for me yesterday, so happy to see that. But I'm not liking all these overs, so do the sweater on. Maybe we could change some of this luck we got going around here.
I hear you. And I can't wait to talk about your expectations of Clayton Kershaw this evening. It's so much fun capping him in the playoffs. It's just something I enjoy enormously. Michael Hunter says, I'm on the Astros heavy. I know they cheat, but they look good to me. Well, that will be the second game we break down. The first game we break down will be Marlins, Braves, and let's get to work right now. Pablo Lopez versus Ian Anderson. And we briefly touched on it off the top of the show, but Pablo Lopez has had some lights out games against the Braves. He's been absolutely violated against the Braves, and he's faced the Braves more than any other club in his 3-year MLB history. We have these Braves opening up at minus 190 at Bet365. They've taken 30 cents there. 30 cents. A big move towards these Atlanta Braves. This total opened up at 8.5. It is where it stands right now. There has been a 5-cent move to the under. So it's over 8.5 at minus 120. So a small move back to the under. Minute Maid Park in Houston. Atlanta leading this series 1-0. Pablo Lopez, 6-4, 3.61 ERA, 1.19 whip in the regular season. 59 Ks and 57 in the third, 18 walks and 4 homers. Ian Anderson, 3-2, 1.95 ERA, 1.08 whip in the regular season. Very high draft pick. He came in and was a steadying influence on this rotation that desperately needed him. 41 Ks and 32 in a third, only allowed 1 home run and 32 in a third. Marlins did not hit righties during the regular season, 235, 673 OPS. The Braves did smash righties, 273, 852 OPS. Marlins bullpen in the regular season, 5.50 ERA, 1.55 whip. It has improved in the postseason. Get a little more Garcia, a little more Kinsler, 4.32 ERA, 1.08 whip. Braves bullpen was great in the regular season, 3.50 ERA, 1.28 whip, and it's been very good in the postseason, 0.64 ERA, 0.79 whip. It probably helped that they faced the Cincinnati Reds in that 2-game series to open things off. Let's break down this from a whole bunch of different angles, but let's hear, Nolly, your views right off the top. Marlins, Braves. Have you made a move? Are you making a move?
All right, yeah, I'm a little more tentative going into this division series, so I've yet to make a move in this game. Wanted to talk it out with you guys and still think about a few things and check out a few more numbers. I was a little bit behind, but when I look at Pablo Lopez, that's the biggest question mark here. Like you said, Jacqueline Hyde is the way to put it. He's looked really good at times against these Atlanta Braves, being dominant, and then other times he's been susceptible, specifically in Atlanta. Even when you look at his 2019 numbers, at home he'd be dominant against them, but on the road he would get hit hard. And the one thing that is encouraging after his September 9th start, which he gave up 7 earned runs, 4 hits, and just a 1 2/3 inning, he does come back in Atlanta on the 24th. 5 innings pitched, 2 hits, 0 earned runs, 6 Ks, 2 strikeouts. So to me, that is a very encouraging sign going into this game. And there is no lack of familiarity here into this game. Something that Pablo Lopez talked about in his interview. He goes, "There's no secrets here. He's just gonna have to adjust. Game of adjustments. That's what it is." And it seems that he's made some proper adjustments going into this game, but still not a lot of confidence in the guy because of what he's done in the past, but he's put together a really good season. You look at his ERA of 3.61, a bit inflated because of 2 starts. Other than those two starts where he got hit, other than that, he did not get hit at all this season. So I really like Pablo Lopez and the way he looked this year, and he might be in for a surprise start here. Ian Anderson on the other side has been really, really good this year. Had 2 starts against these Miami Marlins. Goes 5 2/3, 7 hits, 3 runs, all unearned. But the one thing is the 7 hits does stand out. But like you just flashed on the bottom, Marte being out is a big loss for these Miami Marlins, both on and off the field. That guy's been around. He's hit and been successful everywhere he's been. And now losing him was a big blow to their running game and their offensive production. And honestly, I love the way that Ian Anderson has looked on the mound. I love his presence on the mound. They talked about a little bit. I read an article, and they're talking about how the Marlins have seen him and they've had some success, but very, very small success here. Nothing that I'm too high on. I expect the Braves to come out and win this game the way that they won it and took it yesterday. The advantage in the bullpen stands out to me quite a bit. But here, honestly, I expect these pitchers to come out and pitch well. Here I'm looking still to take the full game. I'm going to take the full game under 8.5.
Full game under 8.5. Well, let's talk about Anderson a little more and continue with Lopez. Anderson faced the Marlins twice this year, both at home. Lost both games 5-4 and 4-2. Only 1 earned run. He allowed 5 runs, but only 1 earned run, 9 hits in 8 2/3 innings. And then Lopez, 2-1, 6.39 ERA against the Braves this year. And he went head-to-head with Anderson on September 24th in that 4-2 win. That was the game Nolly was talking about with the 5 shutout innings. It's tricky. It's tricky. Why don't we – oh, and by the way, that 2-1, 6.39 ERA against the Braves was this year. In his career, he's 2-4 with a 4.43 ERA in 8 career starts. Why don't we break down exactly how they fare against the opposition bats here? Pablo Lopez has 118 at-bats against them with these Braves. They're hitting 237 with just a 407 slugging. So they're not hitting him hard. It's Darno has 2 homers against him in 7 at-bats. Acuna has 2 home runs in 14 at-bats. Acuna just so dangerous. So 3 singles and 2 home runs for Acuna. Tyler Flowers has the other home run. No one else has hit home runs. So you look at the big bats like Freddie Freeman is hitting 238 against them with just a 286 slugging. Marcell Ozuna just 222 against them with a 222 slugging. So 2 singles in 9 at-bats against them. Dansby Swanson, 2 singles and 15 at-bats against them. Ozzie Albies, 0 for 13 against them. So the Braves don't get to Pablo to the extent that you'd expect when you look at his numbers. And then you go to Ian Anderson. It's just John Birdie. Birdie 4 for 5 against him with 3 singles and a double. And then after that, hard to find people that touch Ian Anderson in 34 at-bats. Just a 324 slugging against 666 OPS. And Nolly, after breaking it down, has decided to move on the full game under 8.5. Does that give you more confidence after I break down the head-to-head matchups?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when I looked at Ian Anderson's numbers against him, and that's why I listened to this so-called success, and I didn't see it, And on the other side, Lopez, he has been touched up a little bit, but a lot of those has been walks. When you see a lot of those runs, even the one time when he gives up a lot of runs in the 1 2/3 that he faced, he only gave up 4 hits and ended up coming up with 7 runs. A lot of that was due to the walk. So he hasn't really got lit up like that. And I the main thing is I like the adjustment that he made on his last time out. That's a big thing. It was a big game for Miami. He was able to pitch well, and that's my one look in to see as a big game. Right, this is his first postseason start, so that's what I looked at for me.
Yeah. No, I understand. I feel like the Braves bats are so hot right now that I had to attack the team total over 4.5. And maybe I'm a day late and $1 short, but I do like it. We got razor sharp picks: Robert Allen, DJ Big Boss, Dutch Boy Fresh, Sabino Anguiano, DeAndre Polk, Michael Irvalina in the house joining us. And 2 completely different looks for Nolly Knows and I. Nolly Knows on the full game under 8.5, and I'm on the Braves team total over 4.5 at minus 130. A ton of juice for me, and not juice for you. I like that. Jason Folks says, how much of those Anderson stats are pumped by those sleepy-ass Reds bats? Well, we went over the Anderson stats straight against – I mean, we didn't even talk about Anderson's postseason performance against the Reds in this spot. But seeing Acuna homer, Darno, Swanson homer, I feel like these Braves are rolling right now. If you had a free play on the side, I mean, I guess the 30-cent move already towards the Braves makes it a can't bet at this point. But do you have a feel on the side at all here, Nolly?
To me, I wouldn't run up against these Braves. The experience here in the postseason, albeit the young lineup, and just a big advantage on the bullpen. This matters significantly here, especially in this series here. Playing 5 games straight is a big issue. Even 3 days straight is a big issue for a lot of these guys. And Miami's weakness is the bullpen. So over the 9 innings, I expect that the advantage to show with the Atlanta Braves. And hard to go against them, but those numbers are hard to bet.
Alrighty, there you have it. Marlins, Braves. Now we move on to the 3:35 p.m. Eastern spot, A's versus Astros. And money coming in towards the over. But I would like to pull the trigger on the first 5 under 5. I possibly would have already done it, although it wasn't available. To me, the first 5s just came out. I bet 365. And by the way, Gin Rummy making a move on the Marlins first 5 at plus 160. I like that. I like the number you're getting there. I completely understand why you would back it. All right, we are at Dodger Stadium for the ALDS Game 3. Houston leading this series 2-0. Houston 4-0 in the playoffs, and Dusty Baker pressing all the right buttons. Jesus Luzardo, 3-2, 4.12 ERA, 1.27 whip, 59 Ks in 59 innings, 17 walks, 9 home runs. Going up against Jose Urquidy, 1-1, 2.73 ERA, 1.01 whip, 29 2/3, 17 Ks, 8 walks, 4 home runs allowed. Astros versus lefties, and this is the big stat for me. This is not last year's Astros. This is not the Astros that we remember smashing lefties. Now, Nolly, do you think that we should put a line through this stat of a 232 average, 702 OPS because of the injuries that they faced all year? Altuve was hurt for a big chunk and tried to play through it. Bregman was hurt for a big chunk of the season. Because I look at that average and OPS against lefties, and I try to forget this vividness bias of them smashing lefties. And then if that's the case, Luzardo just had to go up against the White Sox, and they hit him hard. And maybe he gets right here in this hugely important game when he knows they've chosen him over Frankie Montas to start this biggest game of the year. What are your expectations of Jesus Luzardo against the Houston Bats?
I mean, Luzardo's a guy that I really like. His numbers look about average, but I think he could pitch significantly better than that. And I think this is a really tough spot to ask the youngster to come in and pitch. It's just almost a must-win for them. Well, it is a must-win for them. And the fact that they went with him says a lot. I do like what it says to him, that they have confidence in him. But is it the lesser of two evils because of the fact that Montas gets lit up by these Houston? Might be another factor. He's got an ERA well over 4 against Houston. So the fact that Luzardo has had some success against this lineup, I think, is a big factor of why they decided to start him. And like you said, Jamie, I mean, hard to try to come up with those numbers, right? I always mention it in any sport. Cannot judge a guy when they're injured. They're a different player, especially if they're trying to play through it. And you made a great point about that team. Springer is something that you've got to deal with in the postseason, something that he's always done, and a guy that I felt that didn't need the drumming of the trash cans, and I feel he still continues to do what he does. But here, honestly, I like the way Luzardo will look here in this bounce back spot. He pitched 5 2/3 against Houston, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, and then another start went 7 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 7 strikeouts, just 1 walk. I expect him to have a nice bounce back here, a guy I really like, and I think he'll be poised to have a nice start, just simply because they're trusting him. The question is Jose Urquidy, and that's the guy that I'm not too sure on, because some of the numbers that you look at might not look too good. Some of the advanced numbers don't look too good, but he's been putting it together really well. You look at most of his starts, been able to go 6-7 innings, throwing 90-some pitches, allowing 3 or less runs in just about every start. Had a good start against the Minnesota Twins, but it was the Twins in playoff baseball, so I don't know exactly how deep I would look into that. But here against Oakland, he had a good start, 6 innings, 2 hits, 2 earned runs, gave up a home run, but gave 3 walks to just 1 K. Oakland team that has a really good eye, takes their walks. And here in this spot, I actually think that Luzardo is actually going to be the better pitcher, but I do expect Kelly to have a good start. The ball has been flying over there at Dodger Stadium. I hate the fact that they're playing these 12 o'clock games, but temperature does drop today. And the big thing that I noticed when I went out to get some coffee, I couldn't even see when I was driving. Fog everywhere. So I think there'd be a little bit change in the way that the climate is up there in Chavez Ravine. And I'm leaning towards that first 5 under right there with you, Jimmy. That's something that stuck out to me. I circled this series to try to be an under. I took both games under so far, just 1-1 in the series. But I agree with you. I agree with that first 5 under. I just haven't pulled the trigger.
A's don't hit righties hard. 227, 728 OPS. Urquidy 1-1, 2.73 ERA, 1.01 WHIP, 29 2/3, 17 Ks, 8 walks, 4 home runs. The Stros were expecting to go with Greinke here, but he's dealing with some sort of arm issue. A's bullpen 2.72 ERA, 1.13 WHIP. Not looking as strong in the playoffs, 3.65 ERA, 1.14 WHIP. And we sort of saw that in the last week or two of the regular season, the bullpen not look as strong. Astros are the complete opposite. Bullpen is not allowed to run in the playoffs thus far this year, 0.60 WHIP after struggling in the regular season. Astros are hitting hard, 6 home runs already in the series. Correa, Springer have 2 each. And the A's are hitting hard as well. They have 5 home runs. They just don't have any home runs with runners in scoring position. So they're 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position. And in last game, they didn't have an at-bat with a runner on second or third. Interesting. Urquidy, 2 career starts against the A's, 0-1, 2.45 ERA. And Luzardo has faced the Astros 3 times, 2 starts, 1-0, 2.87 ERA. I do like this spot. Rod Zweig says Urquidy's held Oakland to a 100 batting average. Let's pull up the batter versus pitcher stats. Urquidy, 31 at bats Oakland's had against them, and they have 3 hits. 2 of them are homers. 2 homers and a single, batting 0.97 with a 290 slugging. Against Luzardo, 53 at bats, 189 and a 671 OPS. I think this is a move that I need to make right now. The first 5 under 5, and the juice is going towards the over. So first 5 under 5 is minus 105 at Bet365. Time to pull the trigger, Nolly.
Yeah, those are the numbers that I was looking at as well. I like when you look at Luzardo's numbers specifically because Houston bats are a little bit hotter right now. And I just really don't expect the ball to keep flying. I really don't at Dodger Stadium. That's not indicative of the ballpark. But you still have these 12 o'clock games. You still have 80 degrees, but it's a significant drop to what happened yesterday and the day before. So to me, I don't expect the ball to keep flying. I mean, don't get me wrong. Some of those were just shots. You know, you look at the Chris Davis home run. I mean, no ballpark was going to hold that. But I mean, I'm agreeing with you, Jimmy. The recent results is what has me timid. I do lean towards Oakland on the first 5. I believe Luzardo is the better pitcher here, and but I think I might end up riding with you. I just can't pull it yet.
Okay, I am gonna pull it. A's Astros first 5 under 5 at minus 105. Alrighty, 2 games capped. Let's move on to the third. 7:10 p.m. Eastern. Rays, Yankees, ALDS Game 3 series is tied 1-1. Petco Park in San Diego for this 74 Fahrenheit clear, 8 miles per hour sideways right across the diamond. Charlie Morton, 2-2, 4.74 ERA, 1.39 WHIP. He had a tough regular season. He was injured for a third of it. Going up against Tanaka, 3-3, 3.56 ERA, 1.17 WHIP, 48 innings, 44 Ks, 8 walks, 9 home runs. He started off the year by taking a liner to his head and going to the hospital. So each pitcher, a veteran starter who had some trials and tribulations this year. Rays versus righties, 238, 738 OPS. They hit lefties much harder. Yankees versus righties, 254, 811 OPS. Rays bullpen has not been as good as they were in the regular season. That can change because they're a very strong bullpen, but 3.37 ERA, 1.22 WHIP in the regular season. In the playoffs, 4.40 ERA, 1.53 WHIP. Yankees bullpen struggled this year. WHIP was okay, but we're not nearly as strong as we thought they were going to be, and they've been worse in the playoffs. So in the playoffs, 5.29 ERA, 1.53 WHIP. The big difference with these Yankees is Giancarlo Stanton. I mean, they had to deal with so many injuries this year. They didn't have their big bats rolling, and it was Voit leading the way and LeMahieu leading the way. And now you have Stanton, who's homered in 4 straight games. And now you just got to look out. This is a dangerous, dangerous, dangerous squad. Yankees had just 3 hits other than Stanton's homers in Game 2. So Tampa pitchers combined for 18 Ks. That's an all-time record for a 9-inning postseason game. Zunino and Margot each hit 2-run home runs. And Arozarena is smashing. I mean, it's amazing that the Rays can keep getting their hands on these ball players that look so dangerous at the plate but are let go by other teams. Austin Meadows also hit a solo shot. Going up against Tanaka, had a poor start, Game 2 of the first-round series against the Indians. 6 runs, 5 hits, and 4+ innings. 11-5 in his career with a 3.31 ERA and 21 starts versus the Rays. And we'll go over the exact numbers head-to-head. But Kiermaier, 12 for 39, Zunino, 6 for 22, Meadows, 5 for 19. And then Morton, 4-2, 3.83 ERA and 10 career starts versus the Yankees. Stanton, 9 for 26 against them. Gardner, 8 for 22. And Morton, 4-2 and 3.70 ERA, 9 all-time playoff appearances. Both these vets have pitched in big games like this. Very interesting spot. Charlie Chip says the Rays win again. Cash action bets is on the Yankees. Take it away, Nolly. Game 3, ALDS Rays Yankees.
All right, yeah, we got Charlie Morton versus Tanaka here, and Tanaka typically a big game pitcher. We talked about it last time, and just really didn't have it his last time out. Got hit really hard and gave up a lot of hits, and it's really been indicative of the type of season that he's had. Really a roller coaster season ever since taking the line drive line drive. But I mean, his last 3 starts really hasn't looked himself, giving up 7 hits, 8 hits, and 5 hits. Give up 6 earned runs against the Cleveland Indians. Really a guy that I don't know if I want to be trusting here. He did have a couple starts against Tampa Bay. He had 3 starts. Gets hit one of those starts. So a lot of familiarity with Tampa Bay and Messier Tanaka and their lineup, albeit not the New York Yankees, but they're scrappy and they put together a lot of hits, which is not like the Yankees, which rely on a lot of home runs. On the other side, Charlie Morton, some that I look when you see his 2 starts, back-to-back starts against the New York Yankees. First start goes 2 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run. But they pull him early. This one might be a little bit more understandable than the next time because he was at 50 pitches, albeit just through 2 innings. But his very next start, 2 innings pitched, 0 hits, 2 walks, 4 Ks, and only sees 9 batters, and they yank him. I don't know if this is a type of strategy that they wanted to deploy just to not see him, for the Yankees not to see him more, or whether or not they deploy that type of strategy here. Do they not want the New York Yankees to see him multiple times? That's a big question for me because that is the only team in which they deployed that strategy with him. So that's an angle I'm looking at. And Charlie Morton has had some success against these New York Yankees, but has also been lit up. And one thing that I see here with the New York Yankees in this MLB playoffs as a train that I'm not going to go against is that over train. You know, every single game for the New York Yankees going over and quite comfortably. Should I be getting on that train? I don't know. You know, that's difficult for me to pull triggers on the overs. Am I late to that? You know, I talked about that marine layer here coming into my area. I am a little bit closer to the beach than Los Angeles, whereas Petco is a little bit closer to the beach. And their temperatures have dropped significantly today. They're going down in the 70s. So I don't know if I want to be jumping on the over, but I lean towards the Rays here. I like the way the Rays have looked this season. They're a really good ball club, top to bottom. Everybody has their niche, and they fared really well against these New York Yankees and want to beat them really bad. I got a strong lean to the first 5. Have not pulled the trigger, but I might be going that route.
I don't know what to make of these 2 vets on the mound. And the leading indicator books have already moved this total from 9 to 8.5. Almac says the ball's going to continue to fly out of Petco. Slat says, come over to the dark side, Nolan, grab the over. Very interesting to see this move to 8.5. Very, very, very interesting. Tanaka and the Yankees open up at minus 120. There's been a 5-cent move towards them at Bet365. They're now sitting at minus 125. Big Boss says, I'm feeling the Rays, but don't know if they will do it. The Czar is on the Rays. A's first 5 and under in the Braves game. This is I don't know what to do with Tanaka and Morton. And from an eye test, I did not like what I saw from Morton this year. Is he going to be able to turn things around come playoff time? Because he's pitched in the big games. He was on the mound in a Game 7 World Series win. Tanaka has allowed 9 home runs in just 48 innings in the regular season, and that's not even talking about what he did in that Game 2 against the Indians. I mean, okay, well, here, let's go with this. Who do you trust more in this spot, Morton or Tanaka?
I think I don't really expect Morton to go very deep. And you've seen it time again with the Rays. They'll go to their bullpen a little bit, and I trust the Rays bullpen a little bit more. I think they'll be willing to have the quicker leash on him. But in this spot, I think I trust Morton more than Tanaka. I don't like what I've seen out of Tanaka, specifically his last time out. And I just really not trusting him his last few starts. So I would lean towards Morton.
Lean towards Morton. And then Joey Work says Tanaka easy. So the Czar says you guys need to listen to Nolly. Scott Schumacher says 5-6 run game from the Yankees. Brandon Lugo says Yankees roll today. Cashman 19 on the Yankees. All right, let's look at the head-to-head matchups here. Yankees against the Rays and Charlie Morton. 231 average, 425 slugging, 784 OPS. Gardner hits him 8 for 26, but that's about it. But Giancarlo Stanton hits him 9 for 26 with a homer, 2 doubles. So Giancarlo 952 OPS against him. Luke Voigt 971 OPS against him. LeMahieu 800 OPS against him. So Judge doesn't hit him hard, but the big bats that you need to hit him hard do. And then we go over to Tanaka. So I agree with Nolly's idea that they're not going to want. I mean, I wonder if Stanton sees Morton twice. And I'm guessing the answer is no. Tanaka here, his numbers 238 with a 712 OPS against this lineup. And it's Kiermaier, Zunino, Meadows that hit him the hardest. And then some of the big bats like Brandon Lau does not hit him hard. Very, very, very interesting spot. Are you going to make a move here in Rays Yankees, Nolly?
No, I think I'm going to ultimately end up staying off the game. But if I make a move, I'll be on the Rays.
Al Mack says, doesn't the first 5 over seem like the play? What do you think of Al's question there? Over sitting at 4.5.
I wouldn't argue against it. Like you said, the line dropping a little bit. I would not argue against that the way these pitchers have looked. But yeah, not my job.
Not my job to bet overs. Yeah, we know. We know. Wow. All right. I've made no move on Rays Yankees, nor has Nolly Knows. Tanaka, generally, when he gets lit up, he usually comes back with a much better performance. I mean, that's a pretty easy thing to say. And then Morton, I don't think he sees the heart of the Yankees lineup twice. And that bullpen for the Rays has not been as strong as they were during the regular season. And we've already seen these leading indicator books move this from 9 to 8.5. All right. That is Rays, Yankees. We have moves on the other games, but unable to shine light in that spot. All right, let's move on to the final game on the MLB card, 9:08 p.m. Eastern. Padres-Dodgers. NLDS Game 2. Dodgers up 1-0. We're in Globe Life Field in Texas, and we don't have a line out yet because we don't know who's starting for the Padres. I mean, Jace Tingler is in tough. I just don't know how they can continue doing it. And the last time I said I don't think they could, I got crushed. And that was game 3 of the Cardinals-Padres. So the Padres used 9 pitchers for the 3rd time in 4 postseason games. That other time when they didn't use 9 pitchers, they used 8. How can they keep going? So there are 2 major questions here. How can this bullpen keep being used like this and succeeding? And then will we see playoff Kershaw? And the playoff Kershaw we saw in the in the wild card series, against the Brew Crew was spectacular. 8 scoreless, struck out 13. What do you think? Okay, let's start with Kershaw. Nolly, I know you're a Dodgers fan. You live in the city. What do you think about the idea that Kershaw's arm is not taxed because there was a 60-game season and he's ready to excel because this is the point in the season when he's usually excelling?
Well, I mean, that could be an argument, but I think he was ready to go in the season. I think the bigger thing is the time off that he had and how he applied it. That's a big thing. I mean, you hear it even from the Brewers manager when he was on the live broadcast. He talked about that velocity and how he's throwing a lot harder this year. That's something that I looked at, and that's a big indicator with these pitchers. They correlate to strikeouts. They correlate to success. The velocity matters, and I think that was a big thing. The fact that he is fresher, it is something. But something that I talked about on the last appearance. He said, "What did I want out of Clayton Kershaw? I wanted them to manage him like an average pitcher, and they still didn't do that. Late in the seventh inning or in the eighth inning, they come out to get him, and he waves off his coach. That's what's got them into trouble in the past. I think they need to yank him when it's time. But I expect Kershaw to be dominant. He's looked really good. He had 2.54 ERA in the month of September, and here against San Diego, he's had some success. So I think he feels confident against them. Got to watch out for Machado. Machado likes hitting against him, and I expect Clayton Kershaw to be on his game. Would you like me to talk about the Padres
bullpen? That is a cool. Let's talk about Kershaw just a second longer. It feels like many in the chat think Kershaw's back is in order, his velocity's up, and he's going to roll. JT says Padres are a different team than the Brewers. I'm a Dodger fan, but Kershaw has to prove me wrong in the playoffs. Al Max says Kershaw's going to roll. The Padres have been emasculated, poorly managed. These Padres hit lefties hard. 250, 761 OPS. Not with a ton of power, but 250, 761 OPS. Let's get into Jace Tingler and the Padres bullpen. How can they keep rolling?
I think that's a really, really tough ask of the bullpen, and specifically when you see his management of the bullpen. And I quote that because it's pretty evident what he's doing. He goes out, he picks a righty, throws 3 outs, then he takes him out, grabs a lefty, 3 outs, then goes back to the righty. That's all he's doing is going back and forth from righty to lefty. There's nothing that I see that he's really managing the bullpen. It's a simple strategy. And the problem with that strategy is that you need every single guy to have their stuff. All it takes is one guy not to have their stuff, Matt Strom, and you get lit up. And the fact that he's going to sit there and argue a strike call, get thrown out, I thought was ridiculous, being that was strike 1 that he was arguing. He wasn't even arguing strike 3. That was just 1 strike. He wouldn't have got the guy out anyway. So I've doubted this manager, and what he did yesterday is tough. But nonetheless, they're in a tough predicament as it is. And they're asking a lot out of this bullpen. And I talked about it earlier when we were talking about the previous games. The 5 straight days. I mean, it might not be 5 straight days, but playing every day with no rest is a big factor and gives the Dodgers, to me, a bigger advantage. I would have liked to see everybody healthy. I always like to see the best matchups possible, but the fact that they're not is a really, really tough ask. And Tatis was held down yesterday. That's a big problem for that lineup. He gets going, he gets emotional, he pumps that team up. So you got to look to keep Tatis down. And like you said, the bullpen, it's just too much to ask, I think, in my opinion.
I agree, but that game 3 against Cardinals threw me for a loop. Let's look at these head-to-head numbers against Kershaw. The Padres bats 228 against him with a 624 OPS. Machado is 5 for 18 with 2 homers, 6 ribbies, 278, 611 slugging. And Hosmer is 9 for 27. So Hosmer 333 with a 519 slugging, 876 OPS. Tatis 3 for 8. He's hitting 375 with an 875 OPS. So the Will Myers just doesn't touch him. 125, 307 OPS. But Machado, Hosmer, and Tatis do. What is going on? I mean, we don't have a line out yet. I guess, what are we expecting? Are we expecting a minus 210 opening line for the Dodgers?
Yeah, I would definitely expect about 2, somewhere right around 2, depending on who starts. Do they go with Davies here, which is what I'm expecting them to do? He's had some success against the Dodgers recently, and I mean, they don't have many options. I mean, Paddock is not going to be an option. I wouldn't expect, but who knows, But yeah, I'd say around 2, and really an angle that I might be attacking here is actually the total. That's a Texas ball club, a stadium that the ball has not been flying. Some that even the announcers were talking about yesterday. Couple of those hits I felt that would have carried elsewhere. The ball was not flying in that stadium. Might be looking to take a full game under here.
Wow. Almac has the stat for the Dodgers on the -1.5 so far this season. 39-24 plus 10.85 units. Says bet LA -1.5 and call it a day. What do you think, Nolly? Do you think you're going to be making a move on this game?
I might be taking a look at the total, depending on what they're going to give me. I hope they give me somewhere in the about a 9. Like I said, that ball club. I mean, the stadium is what I like, is that the ball is just dying out there. But I can't argue with that. I see a significant edge when you talk about Kershaw versus San Diego bullpen, and these guys have been pitching a lot recently, and they're going to keep on throwing. A lot of familiarity starts coming into play, and the fact that they had the Dodgers to no hits in the first 6 innings is just was kind of comical to me. But just the fact San Diego wasn't able to take advantage of some of their opportunities. They're in a tough spot. They know it. And this is a tough ask for them going against the Dodgers. Yeah, I try to keep my fanness out of it. I do like it, but at this point of the year, I don't take my team.
Backdoor cover says, what about the -1? Let's say, for instance, the Dodgers are -220 on the money line, and the -1.5 is -105. Let's pump that into the run line calculator, and that gives you a -164, which is just a ton of juice. So, I mean, we'll have to wait and see what pops out, but I'm not comfortable with the under, even with the marine layer. I do think that these Dodgers bats even when they're not right, they're putting up 5 runs. And now we have a tired Padres bullpen and possibly a righty with off-speed stuff. I mean, I understand that what choices does Tingler have? What choices does he have? He doesn't have much. And so, all right, there is Padres, Dodgers. Those are the 4 NLDS and ALDS games. Nolly Knows, can you please review your MLB action?
Yeah, and there's some that I was keeping track of right now. I'm actually going to make another move, a little bit different. But first game that I did make a move, Atlanta, Miami, under 8.5 on the full game. And then here I'm seeing a little bit of movement up towards in the Oakland and Houston in the full game. I'm going to take the full game under 9. I'm getting plus 100 right now, and that's enough for me to make the move. I like the way Oakland's bullpen is pitched. I like Houston's bullpen, so I want to incorporate that into this look here.
So you're going to take full game instead of first 5?
Yeah, I'm going to take the full game.
All right. I'm going to move on the first 5 under 5 at -105. I just have not liked what I've seen from the A's bullpen over the last week and a half or 2 of the regular season, and then moving on into the playoffs. Nutflush Allen says, no way I'm betting the run line with Kershaw. So I'm Braves team total over 4.5 at -130. Astros, A's first 5 under 5 at -105 is my action. Czar says a lot of money being bet on Astros, Yanks. Be careful. Says Vegas is telling the Czar that Oakland is the play. Oakland is the play. CT Bay says Tanaka will be on his game tonight. CT Bay says that part of Tanaka's issue in that game 2 against the Indians was the rain delay. Could be absolutely right there. Alrighty, and then we have no move yet on the big games at night, which is not how I was hoping to spend my Wednesday evening, but not going to force any action. There you have it. There is our MLB schedule. So as you guys are obviously noticing, we're losing sports fast. And next week, MLB will have, just a game in each league, NL and AL. And the focus will be solely on NFL football and NCAA football until we have NCAA basketball. So we are making changes here at Odds. And I'm no longer starting next week going to be doing a 10 a.m. all-encompassing sports show. We are going to focus on sport by sport and put out a new schedule for you guys. We're going to put that out this week and put the right cappers together that can focus on sports, singular sports. So there are going to be changes moving forward. So this will be the last week of 10 a.m. full sports encompassing shows. And Guillermo Zutucci says horses. I can tell you what, we are doing Friday and Saturday of the Breeders' Cup Championships. That's coming up at the beginning of November. That's less than a month away. All right, we have our 4 baseball games broken down. Nolly Knows, who is spectacular at baseball, is also very, very good at NCAA football and NCAA basketball. So you're going to see a lot more of Nolly Knows regardless of baseball coming to an end. Justin Betts says, hopefully the show comes back once we've got more sports back in the spring. Yeah, and I don't think it'll be the spring. I think it could very well be January. NBA and NHL are trying to get January 1st as a start date. And I've always thought the NBA should start on Christmas Day anyways. We'll see how that bangs out. KP says horse shows are the best. That was an extremely enjoyable day we had on the Preakness. And this year I lost every race of the Triple Crown. Unbelievable. And those of you on Swiss Skydiver, spectacular capping, spectacular work. Okay, Noli, let's move on to NCAA football looks. So moving forward for this week, we're going to have cappers like Nolly Knows, John Ryan, Connor Mack, and more come on and break down their best spots on the NCAA football card. We're going to cut them up, put them up on our YouTube site. That's how we are hammering things. Robert Allen says, you about to be taking time off? No, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here as much as possible, and I'm going to be a part of these shows as much as possible. So no break. No break for me. I'll be all over these shows, and so we're gonna have the big NCAA kickoff show on Saturday. It looks like we're gonna have a opening lines NCAA football show, and don't forget we got NCAA basketball right around the corner. So, all right, let's take a look at NCAA football here with our Nolly Knows. Nolly, what is on your radar? We will cap Tulane Houston in its entirety on Thursday, and we'll cap Louisville Georgia Tech in its entirety on Friday. So don't worry about that. But what is on your radar for NCAA football?
A big thing on the radar, and it's crazy you use the word, is Hurricane Delta. That's a big factor here when you look at a lot of these totals. I mean, prayers out to everybody in the path. But I think people will be disappointed to find that it goes from Category 4 hurricane and now hits the Cancun area at a Category 2. So a significant decrease in the expectations of rainfall and wind that are going to make landfall. When you talk about Louisiana, you talk about parts of Mississippi and Alabama, and a lot of these totals that what I was looking at crashed. They crashed really early. A couple lines that I did not expect to crash that significantly, especially when you talk about the South Carolina Vanderbilt game opens up at 46 down to 41. And I will say a lot of these totals that people are afraid to bet in the 40s, only one game last week lost, FBS game. I mean, there was a FCS FBS game that did, but I don't really count those games in my stats. But only one game, two FBS matchups from in the total in the 40s lost last week. So totals in the 40s still have value. So I don't understand why people just blindly will bet over just because it is college football. I have a lot of success in that, and I did last week as well. But that's what you see, and that's a surprise. But what I do see is the tick up now. People are starting to realize that it's not going to be as bad as what they thought, and starting to see a tick up. One game that I did take was Georgia-Tennessee. I did take the under at 44. This is a Georgia defense considered to be the number one in the nation, only giving up about 60 yards rushing per game. And that's something that the Tennessee Vols, they rely on heavily. They run the ball 42 times. A team that I've been on the last 2 weeks, barely covered the first week, looked pretty good last week. And Tennessee's defense has looked pretty good. I've been really impressed with Bennett over there with Georgia, been throwing the rock really well. But it's still a Georgia team that's run first. NFL style, and I still lean towards the under. It's crept back up to 43. It was down to 41.5 as well, and I like that under. Another one would be East Carolina. I had to dig into the gutter for this one. East Carolina, University of South Florida. I'm going to take the under here. I took under 56. It's crept down. It started at 59. And the reason you see South Florida, the offense has been pretty bad. They were only able to put up 27 points against the Citadel, and against Notre Dame got shut out last week against Cincinnati. A pretty ugly game, which I also had the under. And it's 28-7 loss. And one thing that I noticed, that their defense was a lot better than what people might expect. And the other side, East Carolina, really nothing to like about that program. Got really shellacked by Georgia State, but that game got out of hand really early. But in my opinion, here I got a total near 53. So I've got or no, not. I'm sorry, that's the wrong game. But yeah, this one I've got total around 49. This I just see South Florida really struggling on offense, really not throwing the ball really well and relying on their run significantly more, running the ball 35, maybe 40 times here. And that's the under that I like here. And the game that I actually the game that I had around 53 was the Texas State Troy game. Now, this one, I feel that there's been an overreaction, and then the total's getting bet up right now. And the big reason why it gets bet up, because initially got bet down because Troy being in Alabama, people were expecting the weather. And Texas, the Troy hasn't played. They got their game canceled due to COVID. And here they play a Texas State team that, I mean, has looked pretty good to start the season. Haven't lost by more than a touchdown. And being that Troy hasn't played, I expect their offense to sputter a little bit, but a Troy defense that has significantly improved, and they typically own this battle between the teams. And I like the under here. I feel I got more than a 6-point edge on this one.
We have 3 unders for Nolly here. So we'll start with this Tennessee, Georgia. This total opened up at 45. There's a 43 and 42.5 on the board. Nolly got in at 44. So there is this first look, Tennessee, Georgia. Then we move to South Florida, East Carolina. So this total opened up at 57 and is now at 55.5 or 55. What number did you get it at?
Sorry, I got 55.5. It's still there in my book.
It is there at a few books. So there is the second look, this USF under. This is a USF under that also our man Viper NB is backing. So he's also there. And then we have Texas State, Troy. Texas State, Troy. Let's jump all over this. Speaking of this spot, we have it opened at 63. It's now at 62.5, although some books are bringing it down sharply. So it's moving down fast, 61.5. Our guy, Johnny K, says Texas State money line looks nice. Do you have a feel on a side with this Texas State Troy spot?
I mean, and what makes it stranger is the COVID situation, and some of those spots where I felt I had an edge on a team didn't really come to fruition. Being the fact that they were dealing with that, what Troy was is why I might lean toward Texas State, but I don't know about the outright win. I do like the way that they played. You look at some of their opponents that they faced, and they fared pretty well. But that whooping that BYU gave to Troy, I mean, BYU seems to be for real. That defense is for real. They're significantly older than these guys, and that's not indicative of what Troy can be. They might not be as good as what they showed against Middle Tennessee. Middle Tennessee State seems to be really down this year. And, I mean, I would lean towards Texas State with the numbers, but I don't know about the money line.
All righty. We have 3 NCAA football unders. Tennessee, Georgia, USF, and Texas State, Troy. 3 unders from our Nolly Knows. Now we have my NFL looks. Nolly, before I drop my NFL looks and what I've already locked in, have you made any moves on this NFL card? Is there anything that you're looking at?
I have yet to make a move, but I mean, one game that I was looking at in particular, there's a couple games that I'm looking at. I might be looking to bet. Take the under in this Thursday night matchup. Chicago Bears really moving the ball slowly, but the way Tampa Bay was throwing the ball around is what's keeping me off of it so far. And might be making a move on some of these totals that are going up in the 50s. But I mean, it's tough. It's a lot of overs. I mean, I was able to sneak away with some profit last Sunday, but I mean, I'm more focused on this college football and baseball right now, so I haven't made a move on NFL.
I came close to taking the Tampa Bay Bucks team total over 24.5 tomorrow, and I held off. So I'm not sure what to do with that total. There was a bunch of 43.5s on the board yesterday. Now they're back up to 44. It's an interesting spot, and Birdie was talking about it, how with all these overs, a lot of sharps are just almost blindly betting unders, thinking that things will regress back to the mean. But the issue here is that the visiting team can hear themselves think and hear themselves talk and call audibles, and that's why I'm a little uncomfortable with my look on Monday night. I just wish Herbert was in the Superdome and it was completely full. I just wish. Justin Betts says, I'm rolling with Jimmy on the Cardinals. Jets players just want Gase out. That's a possibility. That's a definite possibility. Almac is on the over 43.5 all day. Zach says the bag sucks. And in NFL, I'm down 2.95 units, so I'm feeling that way, Zach. 16 and 17, hitting at 48.5%, down 2.95 units. ROI minus 8.94%. Average line minus 111. Last week I went 4 and 5, down 1.7 units. But Bebsy is keeping our show strong, sitting at 17 and 6, 73.9%, plus 9.88 units. ROI plus 42.96%. Average line minus 114, and he's coming off a 4-2 weekend plus 1.55 units, and it was that double up on the Rams that cost us both very badly. So Buccaneers, Bears, we have Nolly thinking about making a move on the under, and the issue is not the Bears, the issue is the Bucs, right? Is the Bucs is what's kept you off making a move on that under?
Yeah, I thought they were going to get slowed down a little bit by the San Diego pass rush, but it seems that they're getting the offense flowing a little bit. There is some injury concerns, but Tom Brady's looking a lot better back there. I mean, and then I was looking at another game that I think I might pull the trigger, and that's going to be the Indianapolis and Cleveland under. The Colts looking like one of the best defense in the league this year, and they're not asking Phillip Rivers to really throw the ball 100 times like he did with the Chargers. I still can't call them LA, but that's another look that I'm looking at.
All right, well, let's break down how I'm handling things. First off, I did make a move on one under on this card, and that is Raiders Chiefs under 56. I pulled the trigger on that under. Curious to hear what you think about it. It's the only under that I moved on. Let's see, has there been any move? No move. In fact, there's a 56.5, a couple 56.5s on the board here. One thing we talked about in last night's show, and one of the reasons why I moved on this under 56 is that when the Chiefs have to fight fire with fire, they'll go score for score with you. But when they don't have to, they seem to take their foot off the gas and milk the clock, and they just don't risk. And I think the Raiders are in big trouble in this spot against the Chiefs. And Jacobs is – I mean, if this Raiders offense is Josh Jacobs knowing that he can hurt you, so you fill up the box, and only Waller is really hurting you on the outside. I mean, Renfro isn't even rolling right now. I mean, without Ruggs, this wide receiver core is banged up. No Ruggs. And then you have no Rico Gafford, no Brian Edwards. But, I mean, they only had 3 healthy wide receivers in that last game. So what do you think of my under 56 in Raiders Chiefs, Nolly?
I definitely like the look, like you said. For the Oakland, they're struggling to be able to throw the ball. They're going to have a tough time. And here, if you look at 3 of the last 4 matchups have stayed under, and like you said, Kansas City has been rolling all over them as of recently. And you said it last time with New England, but something with New England, they tend to play a lot slower when they face teams like that to try to equalize it. And I think here with the Raiders, that's the only way they're going to be able to try to stay in this game. If they try to slow it down, because they're not going to be able to score, especially with all these injuries and not being able to get the ball to the outside. And Kansas City's defense looked a lot better last couple games. And I like your angle. I definitely like your angle. The number seems a bit high here. The one thing here is that the Raiders defense, I don't like the way that they've looked, the way they've been giving up a lot of yards. When we talk about against Carolina, New Orleans, and New England, even against Buffalo, giving up quite a bit of points right now. But I do think that this will be an adjustment because of the injuries, like you said. I definitely lean with you there.
That's my only under on my card. I double up on the Cardinals, but I double up on them early. Double up on the Cardinals first quarter, first half. So that's a spot that I'm pretty bullish on against the Jets. I like that the Cardinals have lost 2 straight, which means they won't come in and treat the Jets lightly. They need a win badly. And the Jets are a bad football team. Darnold is out, so you're going to have Joey Flacco back there. I mean, I just don't see – I love it. I absolutely love this spot here. Cardinals first quarter, first half. I didn't want to triple up. And I did have a thought on that under 47, which I did not pull the trigger. But there's a double up spot for me. Another double up spot for me was the Steelers, who had a bye week and now face the Eagles. Eagles have to fly to San Francisco. Now they're flying back, and they have to face these Steelers. They had 3 wide receivers that didn't play last week. They're all listed as questionable: Jeffrey, Sean Jackson, Arcega-Whiteside. And this is a rested Steelers squad that is going to attack. So I double up on – right now, Jones is questionable. We'll find out more shortly. I mean, that game pops off. That game pops off in 30 hours. All right, so double up on the Steelers, double up on the Cardinals. Then why don't we talk about those 2 spots, Cardinals, Jets, and Steelers, Eagles. What do you think of my double ups on the Cardinals and Steelers, Nolly?
Yeah, I've been expecting Arizona to be significantly better this year, especially when you talk about on the defensive side. They didn't really show it last week, but I mean the Jets have been bad, and going against the NFC West, they have not fared well at all. And then there's the Adam Gase theory, which it happens a lot. You know, you lose that locker room, guys will just give up. You've seen it time and time again. I like the angle, I like the look, but just Arizona's just got to show me a little bit more defensively. But I mean, that's the only way you could look in that game, in my opinion.
I like it. I like it.
Which one was the other game?
The double up was my Steelers at home. Not my Steelers. Sorry, the Steelers at home against the Eagles. I like that the Eagles went into San Francisco and beat them. Gives me a nice number here against a rested Steelers squad. I expect 7.5s to be around soon. What do you think of me doubling up on black and yellow?
I mean, I like it. I mean, I was trying to fade the Eagles last time. The Eagles took advantage of the depleted San Francisco secondary. You saw them missing a lot of DBs late in the game. He was able to extend plays and get it done. But mind you, they still did not look good, not a winning football team. Like you said, a Mike Tomlin team off some rest is definitely an angle you want to be looking at. And it might be a vulnerable spot here. I see your angle here, but not really what I apply much, but I like it.
Steelers have nobody on their injured report. It's like these guys are chomping at the bit to play, and they won't be fresher than they are all year. Cashman 19 says, any thoughts on Colts favored in Cleveland? There's 2 games at the end of the night on Sunday, not the Sunday nighter. So this is, let me get over here. 2 games in the 4:00 games, right? That I find extremely tricky. And it's the 4:25 games, Colts Browns, where you have 2 completely contrasting styles, and Giants Cowboys. And I just find them both very tough. My feeling is that the Colts are a really good squad, and the way they're able to get pressure with just 4 up front and can move 7 back into the secondary. It just makes him so hard to score on. And I like the way Rivers is playing smart and conservative, but I don't really trust him. And so I've stayed off at that point, on that spot, and we'll talk more about it. But 2 contrasting styles. Browns ran for 307 yards against the Cowboys. What are they going to run? How are they going to run against this Colts squad?
Not for that. I think they stop them. You know, they're only averaging, giving up 77 rushing yards. They're only giving up 159-yard passing. And Baker Mayfield is not the guy. You know, they were able to win despite him, in my opinion. You know.
Wow. It looks like that Saints-Chargers game is moved to Indianapolis. Ugh. That hurts me. Oh, that's just not what I wanted to see. Wow. All right. God, when I was making the bet, I was like, should I wait on this? All right. So then next for me is the spot on my card that Birdie's uncomfortable with. And I've not been impressed with the Ravens. I love the way that they made the big plays when they needed to against Washington, but Washington without Chase Young, not that Chase Young's been that good, but I think the reason why he was not good in that game leading up to being taken out was because he was hurting. Bengals plus 13. I don't see why they can't keep it within 2 scores against the Ravens. I'm going sort of against Bebsy here. Bebsy's on the Ravens first half -7. But the Bengals are excited to play football for the first time in years. And I'd like to know what's going on with A.J. Green, but he's not on the injury report right now. Bengals plus 13. One look that I really like, I have Texans first half -3. And now that this Bill O'Brien era is over, I think they are excited to get to the park. I think that Romeo Crennel can do a nice job here. And I have the Texans first half -3 bounce back at home against the Jags. And I really like it. I like it enormously. It might be my favorite spot on the card. Dennis Garcia, very interesting point, says, I'm being very patient with Indy. Very soon, they will be the easiest fade in NFL, overrated, says Dennis Garcia. So those are 2 more looks for me, Nolly. Bengals plus 13 against the Ravens, and Texans in their first half -3 at their first game without Bill O'Brien. Any of those 2 looks interest you, or do you like or dislike?
I mean, I don't really like getting involved with some of the bottom feeders, but I mean, you look at what Houston's been able to do against Jacksonville over the last few years, 4-0 the last four matchups, and like you said, that change of culture over there can be significant, especially when we talk about NFL lineup, NFL locker room. Bill O'Brien has been the guy that seems to keep that team down. So I'm curious to see what happens. And I like the angle that you're taking the first half instead of the full game, expecting them to come out. When I see all those L's, it's just hard for me to even get involved.
Understandable. I got a huge card this week. I'm extremely excited. I have a double up here, and I might have been a little maybe I rushed with my bullishness on this next move, but I thought the team total numbers for the Vikings against the Seahawks were so short. And I moved on them. I moved on the Vikings first half team total over 10.5 and Vikings full game team total over 23.5. I just think that their offense is rolling right now. They finally have Justin Jefferson showing everybody why they felt comfortable moving Stephon Diggs. Thielen's rolling, Jefferson's rolling, and then Dalvin Cook, 191 yards 2 weeks ago, 130 yards last week. Cousins threw for 260. And this now, if the Seahawks have 2 cornerbacks out in Thorpe and Dunbar, they have 2 safeties out in Lano Hill and Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams could come back. Jordan Brooks, their linebacker, is out. I just thought those numbers were too low. What do you think of the Seahawks defense? And what do you think of my Vikings team total overs, Nolly?
I'm gonna have to agree with you here. The fact that these are two teams that just give it up there in the air. You thought Minnesota Vikings were bad, giving up 300 yards passing. Seattle's giving up 400 yards. That's ridiculous. The one thing I do see is Seattle's been able to stop the run. That's something that Minnesota does rely on to start their offense, get it going, and work off play action off of that. But here, simply seeing 400 yards and seeing that they've been giving it up just against just about everybody, even last week against Miami, it was Fitzpatrick made multiple mistakes, and they were still able to get to 23 points. I did have the under there, was able to squeak out of there, and I say squeak because there was a lot of field goals. So I definitely agree with that angle, especially because the total itself is just simply put too high. I think it's a bit of a surprise to see it that low. I really like that angle.
I like it. I'm excited about it. Spenny says Cousins in prime time is terrible, but you want to get a little confidence, go up against the Seahawks defense. So, but I hear you. He is being bad. And then I have these Saints bets that are extremely questionable now. I mean, but did it really matter with the Superdome with no fans? Maybe not as much, and I wonder how this affects. No, I don't like it. This is very, very, very upsetting that I moved on the Saints and now they're moving locations. So that is my NFL action right now. So we will review quickly, and then we'll get Nolly Knows to review baseball. We'll review Nolly Knows unders in NCAA football. But I'm Raiders, Chiefs under 56, Cardinals first quarter -2.5, Cardinals first half -3.5, Steelers first half -4, Steelers full game -7, Bengals +13, Texans first half -3, Vikings first half team total over 10.5, which is still available. Nothing's changed there. Vikings full game team total over 23.5. I'll have to see if that is. Let me see if that is still available. Actually, very quickly. Yeah, that's still everything's still right there and available. Saints first quarter -3, Saints first half -4.5. I was very, very impressed with what the Saints did with all the trouble that they went through with all the COVID testing and everything last week and getting off to a bad start. And I thought, Herbert's second week on the road. I mean, it's still going to be another week on the road in Indianapolis, but it's not what I wanted to see. That is my action. Nolly, could you please review your MLB action?
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to be taking Atlanta, Miami, full game under 8.5, and then also Oakland, Houston under 9. I'm really debating the Oakland on the first 5, but might end up pulling that trigger on that one. And that's about it right now.
And that opened at a plus line, the first 5. So that's what's kind of kept me a little hesitant.
Yeah.
Jin Rummy said that he thought there was thin value with the A's first 5 at plus 105. Now my book's hanging at minus 110. I took the Braves team total over 4.5 and Astros A's first 5 under 5 at minus 105. And then Nolly Knows in NCAA football, Tennessee, Georgia under. Let me grab these numbers again. Do you have them in front of you, Nolly?
Yeah, the current number would be a 43 for that one. I grabbed 44, but 43 I still like. Pretty much nothing too much below that. And I got Texas State, Troy, under 61. And then East Carolina, South Florida, under 55.5.
Unders from Nolly Knows. Nolly, spectacular work. Nolly will be back with us tomorrow, and we'll break down the MLB games and see what else he's looking at in NCAA football and NFL. And we'll be here Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Tomorrow, John Ryan will be joining us as well. And we're going to get basketball coverage. Dutch Boy Fresh. Hopefully we'll get Dutch Boy Fresh on. I'll reach out to Dutch Boy Fresh, Wham Bam, see if we can get them on the show for tomorrow. Big game in the NBA Finals. Nolly Knows, spectacular work. Follow this man at Nolly562. Follow him on Twitter. He's a wonderful follow, always putting out his action. Nolly Knows, any last words for these great cappers in the chat?
Let's hopefully we turn this thing around, man. Let's get the unders and let's make them great again.
Oh, and I'm actually saying the finals game is Friday. Why did I think it was tomorrow? Jeez. Okay, thank you guys. Okay, so well then we'll definitely have Fresh Friday. with Dutch Boy Fresh. Thank you guys so much. Robert Allen, The Czar, Viper NB, Al Mack, JT, Elliot V, Spenny Penny Bombs, Cashman 19, Ben Sports 24/7, Birdie, Sonny, Griffin, Joseph Gomez, CT Bays, Dennis Garcia. What a great, great group. Thank you guys so much for your insights, your humor, your hard work. Nolly, can you leche us out of here, my man?
Yes, sir. Let's go. Good luck to everybody in the chat. Thanks for hanging out. Leche a los bookmakers.